Between mass layoffs and companies deciding to go back to the office in 2023, that's left professionals all over the world craving more freedom and flexibility with their work. I'm Jordan Carroll, aka The Remote Job Coach, and I've helped thousands of remote job seekers on their remote job journey. And today, I'm gonna tell you exactly what I would do if I was looking for a remote job in 2023. In order to find a remote job in 2023, the first thing that I would do is actually stop applying to jobs. Yes, this advice sounds counterintuitive. If you want a job, shouldn't you be applying to jobs? But that's not necessarily true. What I would do is actually take a step back and work on gaining absolute clarity before I am applying to jobs of what it is that I'm looking for, whether that be the industry that I'm looking to go into, the type of role that I want to work in, the type of company that I want to work at. And without this type of clarity, just applying to a lot of different types of jobs, a lot of different types of companies can end in you looking like everyone else in the process. One of the things I see with a lot of job seekers is they'll look at job boards online and they'll see that a job says remote, but remote doesn't mean the same to different types of companies. There's no standardization within that term. So finding a company that works already in the way that you want it to, based on what your ideal lifestyle is gonna be really key. Say that you wanna go and travel the world, you wanna live in Mexico like I do, but you're from the US, you need to find a company that's already going to allow you to live in Mexico while having you as an employee. The alternative, which I've seen many job seekers do, is take the word remote at face value, apply to those particular jobs, and then find out that their style of remote actually only applies to remote in a certain state or remote in a certain time zone or remote even in a specific city. Because 95% of remote jobs have some type of restriction. You need to be really clear on what it is your ideal lifestyle is and only choosing industries, companies, and roles that would allow you to automatically live that type of lifestyle rather than need to negotiate that with an employer after you've been through the interview process. Choose companies based on their level of remote that they already accept. So this first part that I've talked about is really about the strategy. Taking a step back, not applying to more jobs, but really doing some thought of what are my past skills, what are my past experience that apply to the role, the industry, and the company that I want to work at. And what is that ideal lifestyle I want to live, and choosing companies to target based on that, even if they're not hiring, right? Once you have clarity on that first part, which is more of the strategy, more of the targeting based on the skills, the experience you have, and the ideal lifestyle that you want to live. And once you've picked some companies that you want to target, even if they're not hiring currently, what we want to do is establish a personal brand on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is your greatest tool in your job search because it's not only a place where you can find people to network with that are at the companies that you want to work at, but it's also a place where you can articulate your value and you can show your skills. LinkedIn is a dynamic profile that any hiring manager, recruiter, or person at a company that's hiring is going to look at first before they consider you for a job. So what you want to do is make sure that you optimize your LinkedIn profile. There are a lot of different ways to do that, and I'll leave some resources below. I have a LinkedIn headline template as well as a LinkedIn networking template that I'll put below in the comments and in the description. But the main point that you want to take away is find job descriptions online for that specific role that you want to do. Go through those job descriptions, take out some of the keywords, take out some of the phrases, and start using those in your LinkedIn, in your headline, in your bullet points, in your about. What I would do is I would just go straight to those job descriptions that look like great fits for me, and I would pick out those keywords and those bullet points that look exactly like me. I would add my own metrics and add my own experience. So what you do is kind of add in those things, but you still use their words because that's going to be so much more powerful when they're looking at your profile and you're using the words that the companies are using. Once we've established the strategy at the beginning with what types of companies that we're looking for, what our ideal remote lifestyle is, we've got a LinkedIn that's optimized based on some of these job descriptions, it's time to find these companies and build out this list. So I would have at least 20 to 25 companies. And again, it doesn't matter if they're currently hiring, but if they fit that criteria of the remote style that they work in, the size of the company, and they look good as far as the culture when you look on their website, start making that list. Once you've identified those target companies, now we're gonna go in depth with each of these individually. And again, the quality in which we're looking to apply to jobs is so much higher. We're not looking to send out 100 applications, what we're looking to do is send out a couple applications with an extreme amount of depth and quality of understanding of who these companies are. So that means signing up for their newsletters. It means following them on social media. It means commenting on some of their posts. It might mean user groups, webinars, becoming a customer if it makes sense. A lot of companies have free versions of their products. So you become a more educated job seeker when you put yourself in their ecosystem, and then you start to understand, do I know anybody who already works at the company? Do I know someone who knows someone who works at the company? And start using these tactics to go in through the back door rather than just applying, finding the company and really becoming engulfed in every single thing they do. If they have a podcast, listening to the podcast, listening to people that work at the company, if they create podcasts or other content, and creating inroads that way to create real relationships rather than just sending in a resume online, because there's no real connection that you have when you do that. And if you do those things, you become part of the 1% or less of job seekers that are that educated about this company and have done that much background research, and automatically become better than 99% of the crowd that's not doing that. As I mentioned, it's imperative at this point to figure out how you can create the connection with individuals at the companies, and there's a lot of different ways to do that. You don't have to start from nothing. You can look on LinkedIn, for instance. There's a filter on LinkedIn that you can use to filter people that are creating content on LinkedIn by company. That is a great way to see who's already active on LinkedIn and is posting, so that you can use the content as an inroads to a direct message. Someone who posts on LinkedIn is really excited when someone comments and likes on their post. Otherwise, they wouldn't be posting. So by you just leaving a comment, it gives you an extra sense of value when you then go to the DMs to send a message. From there, the message that you can send can be about the content, and really what you're aiming to do is only send messages and only engage with content that truly resonates with you. The whole goal is to actually really build real friends online. And so many people approach networking like it's something that they do only when they need it, but if you're just constantly building relationships when you don't need anything from people at these target companies, then by the time that a job does come open, you've already pre-created those relationships, and that makes it much easier to ask for a favor down the road. So the ultimate advice here is consistently be engaging with content online and making these real friendships on LinkedIn based on that content. You can also do it based on interests or affiliations that are relatable between you and someone that works at the company. So say you went to the same school, say that you're in the same organization, say that you're in some sort of shared community. That's a great way to also reach out and figure out who it is at that organization that has that one little thing that makes it a little bit easier to communicate. Because if the first message that you send is about the job, there's a lot of times that people will not receive that message very well. So you want to actually create real friendships to begin with, and then leverage those real friendships to ultimately, once the company has a position open, talk to them about that position. I've had clients who have messaged people, and because their LinkedIn was optimized, the person who they messaged actually offered them to apply to a job, and they said they would refer them. So it can become a really good way also to bring in inbound opportunities if your LinkedIn is really optimized and you're reaching out to these people in a valuable way, and if you're not really needing anything in that moment. If a job presents itself at one of these organizations that I'm targeting, what I would do is first look at how I can become a candidate for them that is the easiest choice. What does that mean? Well, I'm gonna first try to find a referral. So if I've been doing some of these networking activities first, connecting through content and engaging with the company and being part of their ecosystem, that's gonna be a little bit easier than if I'm just going at it cold, right? So the prerequisite is hopefully doing some of those actions first to gain a referral. If you don't have a referral, that's okay. It's preferred, but what you can also do is make yourself stand out in the application process. There's a couple different ways you can do that. One is that you can directly email hiring managers and recruiters. The main thing you want to do is figure out who it is that's hiring for this position. By doing some simple research, you can even just guess, but if you also know someone at the company, you can get that name from the person that works at the company a lot of times, especially if it's a smaller organization. So I would look for those pieces of information that make my application more relevant, that make it more relatable. That's the first thing I would do, is consider those different things and what's my lowest hanging fruit to make sure that I am a desirable candidate. The second thing is, when I'm making this application unique, I would create a video, or I would do something that would really stand out. And again, I'm sending this directly to the people that are hiring for this position, whether that's the hiring manager, whether that's the recruiter, or if I have to guess, I'm still making my cover letter, my video application my resume, I'm still directing it to someone specifically and maybe making that guess. But I'm telling them, hey, I know this may not be you, but based on the research, I think it is. Here are the application materials that I wanted to send over for this particular role. And again, a lot of this process becomes easier if you've done that networking in advance to be able to get the referral to that particular person. One of the best ways that you can create a video application is through tools like Loom, where you can do a screen share, or you can just create a link where you're talking directly to the camera. And I would make maybe a minute and a half long video about why it is that you're a great fit for that position. If you send that directly to the hiring manager, that's gonna blow them away, especially if it's not required in the application. Very few people are gonna be doing something like that. So find out as much as you can about them, see if there's a personal element in the way that you can approach that video, and also just make your application very unique. There are also ways that you can do samples of work, and you can send a work sample or send a sample project in with that. So say you're a social media manager and part of the role is to create advertisements for social media, you could even pre-create one or two that show off your talent. After you've done this application and you've submitted online, as well as sending it directly to the hiring manager, the recruiter, whoever might be responsible, the stakeholders in the situation, what you want to do is create a follow-up sequence. And that's what I would do, is I would make a calendar invite in my calendar every week from that point that I submit the application, every 5 business days or so. What I would do is send a follow-up directly to that person. I would also change the ways that I'm doing it. I would send LinkedIn messages, I would send a direct email, I would try to find someone who can also get their attention within the organization. I would continue to connect with people at the organization as well, so that I have multiple angles or routes into their perception or into their view. And by doing that, you're increasing your chances of being seen, and you're increasing their chances of them going and looking for your resume rather than accidentally finding it. So that's what we're always trying to create, is a situation where someone is either asking for your resume or they're looking for your resume based on the work that you've done. I would continue that follow-up until you receive a response every 5 business days. And the reason that you would continue it until you receive a response is because I've had clients before and friends before who have been very persistent, and we call it being the polite pest. Is every time that you're following up, you're providing a little bit of value. You're sending an article that's relevant, or you're sending another work sample that's relevant, or you're finding some sort of personal way to connect with them. You're not just saying, hey, I'm checking in on my resume. You are actually adding a little bit of value each time, or you're sending a 30, 60, 90-day plan. And what you're doing is creating this persistence shows them that you really want the role. And sometimes what it comes down to is these hiring managers, these recruiters, these people at these organizations, they're really busy. So you can't take it personally that they're not responding to you, because they're just doing their job. But if you are persistent and you're showing, hey, I really, really want this job, sometimes the people who get it are just the ones who want it more. In summary, if I were looking for a remote job in 2023, I would take a step back. I would stop applying to jobs. I would get really clear on a few things. One, what is the role that I am really good at and really qualified for to be competitive in the job market? What are the companies that I'm looking for? What kind of size companies? What industry are they in? And what is it that they do? What is it that they care about? Get really clear on these things, also based on the ideal lifestyle that you want to live, because companies will have different versions of remote work that they care about and that they actually employ. So you want to make sure you pick companies that only will allow you to live the ideal lifestyle that you're looking for. Number 2, I would get really clear on my personal branding and articulating myself in a way that these companies are going to care about that. By doing that, I'm going to go into the job descriptions, and I'm going to figure out what job descriptions sound like they would be a good fit for me. They don't even have to be at these target companies. They can be any job descriptions that feel like they sound like what it is that you want to do. Take the exact keywords, take the exact phrases, and start implementing those with your metrics, with your examples directly in your LinkedIn, directly in your resume, and the different materials that you're going to use. And third, I would really go deep on these companies. Forget about quantity. We want to use quality when we're looking for a remote job, and we want to pick the exact companies that we want to go after. We want to integrate ourselves into their ecosystem. We want to join their newsletters, their user groups, buy their product when possible, understand how we can network and engage with people that already work at this organization, get informational interviews, and get referrals to those actual positions. And by applying directly with people and sending your materials in a unique way, you can land that interview and hopefully land a new remote job in 2023. If you like this video, you're definitely gonna like this one. And until next time, keep wandering, you're not lost.